My name is Omesh and today we will be talking about Slovenia and Croatia. Join me today as I discuss Yugoslavia's first ever independent republics. Alright, firstly, for some people which don't look at maps and are not severely brain damaged as I am, the two republics that I will be talking about is the far northern one and also the slightly less far northern one. Both of them situated within the dynamic Alps, both of them also being part of the Balkans but don't want to be called the Balkans. I mean, Slovenia, like, nobody ever wants to consider them a part of it, but, you know, they're the same savages as we are. Slovenia's capital city is Ljubljana. It might not be as heavily populated as maybe perhaps the other capital cities, like, for example, Zagreb or Sarajevo, Belgrade, but it's very, very rich. Its economy is thriving due to its close proximity towards Italy and Germany. But other than that, like, a lot of us don't really like to talk about Slovenia that much because it's simply a place unproblematic. A place without drama, a place where people just like show up to have either a nice vacation, have a nice job, and for some of you Bosniaks to leave your household, go to Slovenia, have a child and come back to find milk in your house and never show up ever again. That's a very weird joke that I know about us Bosniaks and how we view the Slovenes. But other than that, you also have wonderful scenery in the place. But other than the scenery, let's talk about Slovenia's history after the fall of Yugoslavia. It's weird to call it history because it's been like, I guess, like less than 40 years since it's independent. It's been like 32 years since its independence. And Slovenia has not been problematic at all. Slovenia hasn't had any controversies, has not dabbled with anything weird. The only thing that it has to deal with is the fact that whenever they're in a room with other Yugoslavs, they have a headache whenever they say, "Ah, you're part of Yugoslavia," and they're like, "Yeah, man, I know, it's a weird part of my life," and that's it. Croatia, on the other hand, very weird history because Croatia, after the war in Yugoslavia, was basically run by a very this close to being fascistic dictatorship. But then after that president went away and then installed with new presidency and the proper, quote, democratization or capitalism as we all call it, took form, it later joined the European Union in 2008. Yes, in 2008. Croatia, for the majority of its time, the only controversies that it ever stirred up with is with its close two brothers in Bosnia and in Serbia, about literally anything. Football related, basketball, handball, anything that has balls in it, right? Anything. And I mean anything. They would strictly talk about like any sport event in the most nationalistic way. They would talk about how 2,000 years ago Croats and Serbs were arch enemies. And yeah, you get like very weird conversations, but other than that, their controversies hasn't really gotten them in any sort of wars yet. In later times, like in more recent times, in situations happening outside of their borders, they've seemed to take in slightly a more just lenient approach. They don't really make their opinion that obvious, that open, and all the such. Economically speaking, I think Croatia is gonna change towards the euro 100%, or it has changed to the euro. I'm not sure about that. I should be googling that. But other than that, its economy is doing quite well compared to the other Yugoslav republics. Slovenia's as well, but the only two differences between them is Slovenia's economy is doing way better, while Croatia's population is doing way worse. In fact, I think Croatia's population is the fastest declining population in the Balkans, or it's tied with Bulgaria. And this is not a video about Bulgaria, and I will not be talking about Bulgaria. That will be a video of itself in another time. Other than that, Croatia's one of its main sources of income and where its economy grows the fastest is in tourism, due to the fact that they're very long coastline. They have a lot of islands. Yeah, Game of Thrones has been recorded there. It has beautiful scenery. And generally, if you ever do plan on visiting Croatia, I won't really recommend visiting the capital, although it is a beautiful place in itself. You should probably go anywhere towards the coastline and you would not be disappointed. You got all the way from Pule all the way to the south of Herzegovina. You got Dubrovnik, you got Dalmatia, you got a lot of places you can just like go. And that's would be the best vacation time that you ever have in your life. Slovenia and Croatia, after the fall of Yugoslavia, have taken somewhat of a weird approach to it. While Slovenia had a quite, anticlimactic 10 days war, Croatia is still left with a lot of scars, which their population till this day are still dealing with. It has a lot of ruined buildings, you have a lot of places and sites, a lot of deportation happened during those periods of time where a lot of ethnic Serb majority places have been displaced. And at one small period of time there was a small semi-independent nation in the border between Serbia and Croatia. Eventually it was seceded back into Croatia, and it didn't really gain any popularity. While also another quite weird contradiction that Serbia and Croatia have is their border, because Serbia recognizes Danube to be its proper border between Croatia and it, while Croatia sees its old borders when it was drawn by the Danube as a legitimate place. So there are some small enclaves, enclaves, and all the such where both countries would not recognize as being their own, so nobody owns it. And sometimes it happens when just like some random dude decides to just like, you know what, I want to become king today. So he goes to one of those places, places a flag, registers it into the UN and says, I am a new nation. Nobody wants to have this territory. So I think the kingdom of Liberland, or like I'm not sure what the name was of this one Slovak individual which wanted to start off his own kingdom, but it was quite the scene, to say the least. And that, I think, would conclude to these two republics. There's not quite a lot to talk about these two, especially when it comes to after-war things. But the others, oh, they do have a story, let me tell you that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. It's not as entertaining as probably the previous videos that you've watched, but there's not a lot to talk about, as I previously mentioned about Slovenia and Croatia. They're probably a very safe and quite traveler-friendly nations to visit. And if you are in a much lesser economic state or a much lesser place in either other continents or in other countries within Europe, those places are quite a good bet for you to go and make a very healthy and great life. But other than that, for my fellow comrades in the north and for my brothers and sisters as well, I hope that all of you have a wonderful day. This has been Omesh. Se vidimo.